I want to tell you about the particular calling God has put on my life. As I began to grow in Jesus Christ, I began to hunger to reach more people with His Word and preach the gospel and all those things that go along with different ministry and things like that. And I had been a pastor and I had been an evangelist and I had taught in Bible school and I conducted seminars and conferences and crusades here in the United States and different parts of the world. And I began to, even though I felt I was doing what God wanted me to do, I didn't see the results that I had thought would come from that. People would respond to the message many times, but then it slowly just drop off and their life would go back to where it was. And through a lot of discouragement and not seeing real fruit come forth, I stepped out of the ministry. That's one of several reasons why I stepped out of the ministry. And took a secular job and wanted to start over again. 10 plus years ago, as I was completing my shower and drying off, I suddenly had a vision, quite different from things I've had in before. This was very clear, very crisp. It lasted only a few seconds. But in those few seconds, I suddenly saw myself and two others walking up a mountain. All three of us had backpacks on. As I saw the backpacks, I knew to ask the question, Lord, what's in the backpacks? And the Lord said, a Bible school. And when He said that, then I suddenly understood what He was calling me to do, to take a Bible school or the education or the knowledge of God to the nations of the world. And it was just so crystal clear. So from that moment on, I began to adjust my life to going back into the ministry, waiting on God call me to where I was to start or begin this journey or begin this ministry. And I also began to look in what it is to have a Bible school. I had taught in Bible school. I had been to Bible schools. I was familiar with different curriculum. I went to seminary library, began to look up different curriculum at different Christian institutions. And you know, they all seemed to just be the same. And they were designed to give information, but not really answer questions. And I didn't really feel that's what God was calling me to do. I felt if we were going to educate, if we were going to inform, it would be to where things would come together and people can say, now I understand. Now it comes together for me. So I began to just keep looking and looking, God, what and how do you want us to do this? Or what way you want us to do this? And that's when He brought me across the path of chronological Bible teaching, where you take the main Bible story, or the main story in the Bible, and teach it from beginning to end. Now that doesn't mean all of the Bible. It means just the Bible story that's woven through the Scriptures from beginning to end. And I realized that's what God wanted me to do. So I began to study that. And as I began to study it, and I began to study it into the Greek and into the Hebrew, and began to put things into context, and began to understand it in a story form, I realized what was happening in my own life, that I was laying a foundation of understanding of the character of God. And my questions were becoming answered. And I was progressing in not only in knowing God, but knowing the reason for life and the reason why I'm here. So then as I began to go out to the other nations, first started in India, and teaching, that's exactly what I began to do. And as I began to teach the students, I saw in them a foundation begin to be laid so they can answer the question of why they believe what they believe, and start to make sense out of things so they can not just have faith and then lose it all of a sudden when things start to go bad, and when things are good, your faith is high. When things start to go wrong in your life, your faith seems to deflate, but to have a faith that continues and stays strong. And that's the calling that I do today. I do chronological Bible teaching. That's basically all that I do. I do some mentoring. I do some counseling, but I do chronological Bible teaching to lay the foundation in people's lives who want to follow Jesus Christ and be his disciple. That's my calling. That's the vision God gave me, and that's what I'm involved in today.